I'm not a huge fan of comparisons, but we do it all the time, especially when a guy is as young as Joe Burrow. But when you hear someone like Steve Spagnuolo says it, a coordinator that's been around as a head coach and won a couple Super Bowls. He's seen Drew Brees in person and as an opponent. He's seen, obviously, Tom Brady as an opponent. He's with Patrick Mahomes right now every single day. So you have to take what he says seriously. And I think when you watch Joe Burrow, you can see some similarities, especially in the personality of where Tom Brady has been and just the mindset of how he approaches his opponent and approaches the games and some of the nuances of wordplay that he uses at times. But for me, I didn't see Tom Brady doing all of this at this stage in his career. When I look at Tom Brady, he was more reliant on his defense than anything. They more so protected Tom Brady for a few years. Joe Burrow has come into the National Football League, and it's been all on his shoulders, basically putting the team on his back in Cincinnati. But when you're about to play an opponent, you're going to give them all the praise that you possibly can. This is an important game. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. This is an important game, Chris. Yeah. And when you're playing a guy who has just struck for 500 yards on a decimated Baltimore Ravens defense, you got to give him some type of acknowledgement. You don't want to say anything that kind of ticks him off a little bit and sets that fire ablaze all over again. So you applaud him for what he's done. You give him a little stroke on the back, and you allow your defense in those defensive meetings to know that I don't care about this guy. We're gonna destroy this guy. That's what he's saying to his defense. But in front of us, yes, praise the guy and say all you need to say.
Well, I agree with the end of your statement, Greg, that I think he's playing Jedi mind games. And now, look, I do think he has great respect for Joe Burrow's ability, his talent. I mean, look, he's having a great season. Looks like he's going to have a great future. So I'm with you there. But I do think he is trying to get in Joe Burrow's head. We saw Wink Martindale went the opposite way. I mean, he didn't really bash him, but he just said, let's not fit him for the gold jacket yet. And you saw how that worked out for the Ravens. So because it's rare. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but it's rare that a coach will compare his own player to a Tom Brady, right? You don't want to put that pressure typically on your own quarterback and say, yeah, he's a lot like Tom Brady. You just don't do that. But you'll put it on the other guy because you want him feeling good about himself, coming in a little cocky, thinking, hey, I'm all that. And so I think he's trying to play mind games with Joe Burrow and maybe even, Nick, send a little message, little jab, a fun jab to Patrick Mahomes to get him more motivated. Hey, we got this guy coming in. Everybody's talking about how good he is. He's one of the young guns trying to take my throne in the AFC. Coach compared him to Tom Brady. I'm going to show you who's the one that's taking Tom Brady's throne, who's the heir apparent. So I think there's mind games on two fronts that Spagnuolo is playing.
Yeah, I think your callback to Wink Martindale is important. The previous week's D coordinators like, let's not fit him for a gold jacket. Burrow throws for 500. They keep throwing late in the game. He mentions how it bothered him. And now this week's D coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, says, hey, maybe he's Tom Brady. On the Brady comparison, I do think it should be taken seriously in this regard. First of all, thank goodness, in honor of Brady, finally, an actual good quarterback is being compared to Brady as opposed to what's been happening all year long with the kid in New England. Oh, the baby goat. Oh, look at him. Look at these comparisons. Oh, he's so much like Brady. Nothing like Brady at all, except for the fact they both played for the Patriots. Burrow actually, stylistically, reminds me of Brady a little bit in this regard. His biggest strength is his accuracy, and his biggest weakness, to which there is one, is overall arm strength. That is also the case with Brady. And that's not a knock on Brady. Even if you have a strong arm, it can be your biggest weakness if your other parts of your game are so excellent, as is the case with Brady. And that's also been the case with Burrow. And I understand he leads the league in, touchdown passes of like 40 plus or 50 plus yards. But as far as his ability to fire it in to tight windows, it's probably his biggest weakness, as if there is a weakness for Brady, that had been similar with him. with all that said, and I think the Bengals are good. I think Joe Burrow's really good. It is unbelievable to me, Wilds, how the media insists on a nearly weekly basis just saying things that they've got to know won't age well.
I knew you were going to.
Like this idea that it is just the flavor of the week every week. And I had to watch people I respect on the other network over this week say Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in football. Top 5 in football already. Yeah. I saw a buddy of mine, a guy I really liked yesterday, said he would rather have Burrow than Mahomes over the next 5 years. Let's all take a deep breath. Like, is Joe Burrow a top 5 quarterback in the AFC? Maybe. I think so. But you've got Mahomes. You have Herbert. I know a lot of folks love Josh Allen. And are we just going to act like Lamar Jackson is terrible now? Or is he just having a bad season? That's 4 names. The 4 guys who I would argue have all done more up to this point in the league than Burrow. Now, I like Burrow a lot, but can we just take a bit of a breath before we anoint Joe Burrow as the next all-timer? And I think he's good. He's good, and I think the connection with Chase is excellent, and I think that they could score some points on Kansas City. But we can't do this every week, where every week it's the new top 5 quarterbacks. We just can't.
I would like to do it every day or even multiple times a day. Tune into me and Broussard's podcast that we have coming out. We can discuss this at length. So here's the thing. Like hip-hop, we always like to talk about top 5. Top 5 dead or alive is always Jadakiss' thing. And there's a certain, 5 guys that everyone sort of picks from. It's Tupac, MJ, usually, or Biggie are kind of in there. And then the other person's always the wild card. You don't know who you're going to pick. And then Broussard, remember Black Thought had that long freestyle. It's like, top 5, Black Thought is top 5. And then after Jada did the verse, Jadakiss, top 5, put him in. This is Joe Burrow's top 5 game. Maybe can get him into 4. You've got the GOAT, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. That 4 spot is open. If he comes in and has a monster game against this vaunted Kansas City defense, after a game where he throws for 525, Lamar is literally limping around the field. You don't get to be, in it because you won an MVP. It's a very now topic. Would you be willing to say that Joe Burrow could skyrocket up your rankings if he has a huge game?
Yes. I think the 3 you mentioned, Rodgers, Brady, and Mahomes, those are solidified. That 4th one is in flux. And Lamar, I want to give him some respect, right? He's a unanimous MVP. He's having a down year. He's injured, all that. But right now, Joe Burrow's certainly playing better than him. And I think it's Justin Herbert. Everybody's put Herbert ahead of Burrow. And I understand why. But Burrow, the numbers are very close. And what I love about Burrow, Greg, is his swagger and his attitude. Remember everybody was saying, you shouldn't go to Cincinnati. Why don't you hold out? Why don't you do an Eli Manning and all that and go elsewhere? He was like, no, look, I can go there and make this team win. And he's done it. He has changed the culture. I know others, you can give Zach Taylor some credit and all that, but he has changed that culture and turned this team, if not a playoff team this year, which I think they will be, then certainly going forward, if they stay healthy, they're going to be a playoff team. So I think Burrow not only has the physical attributes, Greg, but I think mentally and leadership-wise and, all of that, I think he has the intangibles that are necessary to be a great quarterback, too. So I tend to agree with Wilds.
So, and that, for me, the back end of that, the intangibles of the mentality, and his leaderships, all those things, that's what tips the scale for me in nodding in what Steve Spagnuolo is saying. Yes, all of what you guys have said when it comes to the physical attributes, but we've seen guys physically that we can compare to others. But very rarely do we see the mental side of things, which is a huge part of the game, and particularly at that position. And when from the moment of him being questioned about being the #1 overall pick and going to Cincinnati, all the questions that loomed over him of why would you go to Cincinnati? Are you gonna not try to go to Cincinnati? Do you even want to be all of that? He literally walked into all that and embraced it. He walked into that locker room and won it immediately with what he said, how he approached those guys. Mentally, when you think about his approach, his leadership styles, those are the things that stand out to me in comparison to Tom Brady. Everywhere we've seen Tom Brady, New England and now Tampa Bay, anywhere he goes, guys love him. Across the league, guys want to be around him. They want to play for him. They want to play with him because he makes it about the team. That is Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Forget his physical attributes, Nick. Mentally, his leadership skills are what sells me on Joe Burrow. And I'm not going to hesitate. He's a top 5 quarterback in the AFC.
Well, listen, I agree with you, by the way. He's top 5 in the AFC. Top 5 in the league as a whole, to me, I think Wildes is right. Mahomes, Rodgers, and Brady are the unanimous top 3. And then Dak Prescott is like, hey, what about me? Kyler Murray, pre-injury, what about me? Josh Allen, Lamar, there's a
Russell
lot.
Wilson.
Herbert, Burrow, a lot of guys Russell Wilson pre this year. Right. There's a lot of guys who make that case for it. The other element here, because I think what Greg said is almost assuredly correct. But Wildes, the other possibility here is that what Steve Spagnuolo is saying is that Joe Burrow also is going to have his worst game of the year with a championship and undefeated season on the line, and we're going to embarrass him and ruin oh, no. I mean, that is what he did to a young Tom Brady. 07 Super Bowl. I know you pretended it didn't happen. Maybe that's what he was saying. Maybe he's like, hey, we're going to pressure him up the middle. We're going to get him. They're going to stay in the teens, and we're going to walk away. Maybe that's what Spagnuolo's talking about. I'm not sure, but that is what he did to a young Tom Brady. So, for what it's worth.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.